There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. You look around and feel that the challenges are greater than your strength, that the horizon is filled with dark clouds, and your heart, so tired, begins to doubt. It is at this moment, when tears become a constant companion, that faith is often tested in the most profound way. But let me tell you something. Miracles don't happen when we're comfortable. They come when the soul cries out, when the heart rises in hope, even if it seems impossible. 5 days. 5 days may seem like a short time to transform an entire life, right? But what you will discover is that 5 days in God's hands are enough to accomplish the impossible. This text did not come to you by chance. If you are reading these words, believe me, something bigger is in motion. God has a purpose for you, and He wants you to see how everything can change when you surrender your dreams, pains, and fears into His hands. Day 1. The awakening of faith. On the first day, it all starts with one small step. Faith is not something that simply springs from a desperate heart. It's a decision, a choice to believe, even without seeing. Maybe today you're facing a mountain of problems, debt that seems insurmountable, a broken relationship, a diagnosis that has rocked your family. But faith does not require you to see the solution now. It just requires that you trust that the solution exists. Think of David, a simple shepherd facing a giant. He had no size, no strength, but he had an unshakable confidence that God was with him. It is this confidence that you need to awaken today. It doesn't matter how big your giant is. Look at him and say, "I am not alone." Grab a pen and paper, or just close your eyes and declare out loud, "Today, I choose to believe. Today, I give everything to God." It seems simple, but this is the first step towards a miracle. Day 2, total surrender. If the first day was about deciding to believe, the second is about letting go of the reins. How many times do we try to control everything? We believe that if we work harder, think more, try harder, we will be able to solve everything. But you know what's amazing? God does not need our frantic efforts. He needs our trust. On this second day, I invite you to deliver. Imagine your worries as heavy rocks you carry in a backpack. Every debt, every heartache, every fear, it all weighs heavily. Now visualize yourself taking off that backpack and placing it at the feet of God. Let Him carry the weight for you. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Resting is not giving up. Resting is trusting that God is working on your behalf, even when you can't see it. Day 3, the inner turn. The third day. This is where the magic starts to happen within you. When you choose to believe and surrender control, something changes in your heart. Anxiety begins to give way to peace. And you know what's most interesting? Often, external transformation starts from within. Remember Paul and Silas, trapped in chains, in a dark, cold cell. What did they do? They sang. They praised God in the midst of chaos. And at the moment they began to praise, the chains broke, the doors opened, and the miracle happened. Today, you are called to do the same. Even if circumstances haven't changed yet, start being grateful. Be grateful for what you already have. Give thanks for what is to come. praise God not for what He can do, but for who He is. This act of gratitude and praise has the power to move mountains. Day 4. The first signs. Have you ever noticed how changes begin to happen subtly? An unexpected call, a brilliant idea, a meeting that seemed accidental but wasn't. When you make room for God to act, He begins to align things in extraordinary ways. On the fourth day, pay attention to the signs. Sometimes we are so busy waiting for a big miracle that we fail to notice the small blessings that pave the way. It could be a word someone said to you, a small breakthrough in something that seemed impossible, or simply a renewed sense of hope. Trust that God is working, even if you don't see the whole picture yet. He is the greatest artist, and every brushstroke, no matter how small it may seem, is part of a grand plan. Day 5. The miracle has arrived. Then the fifth day arrives. Maybe you wake up feeling different. Maybe something extraordinary will happen, like a door that finally opens, an unexpected cure, news that changes everything. Or perhaps the miracle is something more subtle. A peace so deep you never imagined you felt, an assurance that no matter what comes, you are safe in God's hands. Miracles come in many forms. They do not follow an exact formula, because God works in ways that are beyond our understanding. What matters is that over these 5 days, you were transformed. His faith was renewed. His soul found rest. And with that, you become a person capable of seeing life with new eyes. This is the moment when you look back and realize, what seemed impossible 5 days ago is now a story of overcoming, living proof that God is present in every detail. And if you think the fifth day is the end of the journey, let me tell you one last thing. With God, there is no end, just new beginnings. Are you ready for your miracle? Raising hands. On the fifth day, something extraordinary begins to take shape. You realize that your journey is not just about the miracle itself, but about who you have become along the way. It's as if little by little, the pieces of a giant puzzle are falling into place, revealing a plan bigger than you could ever imagine. But here's a powerful truth. God doesn't just perform miracles all around you. He performs miracles within you. The way you came to see life, the way your heart was shaped, and the faith that now pulses within you are as precious as any external change He brings. When the heart sees the invisible, the deepest transformation is not just what happens in your physical eyes, but what manifests in the eyes of the soul. Perhaps, at this moment, you have already felt a glimpse of this change. Have you ever noticed how problems that once seemed insurmountable now seem to have a new context? It's not that they disappeared as if by magic, but that you started to see them in a completely different way. This reminds me of the story of a blind man that Jesus healed. Before he could see clearly, he saw men like trees walking, and then his eyes were completely opened. This is what happens with us. First, we see the possibilities. Then, when faith takes its full form, everything is revealed clearly. The question now is no longer when will the miracle happen, but rather, what can I do with what I have already received? The miracle that continues. The beauty of a miracle is not just in the moment it happens, but in the impact it generates in the long term. Imagine a river that originates from a small spring. This spring seems simple, even insignificant. But over time it grows, becomes stronger, moves stones, irrigates fields, and gives life to everything around it. This is the miracle that God performs in you. It is not a single event, but the beginning of something much bigger. Today, you may ask yourself, what now? What should I do with this transformation I experienced? And I tell you, share. Don't keep the blessing you received to yourself. Miracles are seeds, and like seeds, they need to be planted to bear fruit. Tell your story. Inspire others. Show them that even in the darkest moments, God is there, quietly working, setting the stage for something wonderful. The power of a testimony. Did you know that your testimony has the power to change lives? When you talk about what God has done for you, something happens. It's not just a narrative, it's an invitation. An invitation for other people to also open their hearts to the possibility of the impossible. Remember when Jesus healed the 10 lepers? Only one of them came back to say thank you. But that single act of gratitude became a testimony that echoed for generations. Today, you have the chance to be that voice. A voice that says, I've been through this, I've lived this, and I can guarantee that God is real, that He hears, sees, and acts. So, if someone around you is lost, discouraged, or full of doubts, be the light that points the way. You don't need to have all the answers. Just share what happened to you in those 5 days. The next chapter of your life. Here's the most exciting part. The miracle you received is just the beginning of a new phase. From here on, you are being called to live in a different way. It is no longer a life marked by fear, doubt, or scarcity. It's a life of purpose, where every day is an opportunity to grow, help, love, and believe. You may think, but what if the struggles return? What if the problems arise again? The answer is simple. You now know who is on your side. And with God, every challenge is just a bridge to something greater. A life of expectation. Now, imagine waking up every day with the expectation that something wonderful can happen. Imagine living with the certainty that even in the most difficult moments, there is a purpose, a learning, and above all, a divine promise that you are never alone. This is the invitation that God makes to you today, a life full of expectation, where the extraordinary becomes part of your everyday life. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the God who does. So what next? The answer is in your hands and in your heart. Take everything you experienced in these 5 days and turn it into action. Pray more, believe more, love more, share more. Because in the end, miracles aren't just about us. They are about the impact we can have on the world around us. And remember, God didn't stop on the 5th day. He never stops. The same God who began this work in you is faithful to complete it. This means that going forward, you can expect more blessings, more growth, more transformation. What you will experience now will be even greater than what you have already experienced. So stay strong, because the best is yet to come. And in time you will see that every step, every tear, and every prayer was worth it. Miracles have no end. They are just the beginning. Raising hands dizzy. As the days progress, and you delve deeper into this journey of faith and transformation, something inside you begins to solidify. It's as if suddenly the pillars that support your soul were stronger, more firm, more convinced. There is no longer room for the same doubts that once tormented you. Not because life has become perfect, but because you now know with unshakable certainty that you are not alone. The 5-day journey may have ended on paper, but in your heart it lives on. And with each step you take, you realize that you are living in new territory, a territory where trust in God guides your actions, and hope is your daily language. The miracle expansion. If you think the miracle happened just to transform your life, prepare to be amazed. When God does something great in a person, He never stops there. It expands. He multiplies. He uses His story as a spark to ignite hearts around Him. Have you ever noticed how a simple word can change someone's day? How can a small gesture bring tears to the eyes of someone on the verge of despair? Now imagine the impact of your story, your transformation, when shared with the world. Whether with friends, family, coworkers, or even strangers, what you experienced in these 5 days has a greater purpose. It is a call for you to be an instrument in God's hands, spreading light where there was once darkness. The ripple effect. You may not immediately see the impact you're making, but it's like throwing a pebble into a still pond. The waves expand in circles, going further and further, touching places you never imagined reaching. It may be that, through your words, someone will find the courage to take the first step of faith, or that a person, upon hearing your testimony, finally understands that there is hope for their own situation. Every small act you perform in the name of what God has done in your life is like a seed planted. And you know what's most wonderful? God is responsible for making this seed grow. When the next challenge arrives, life has its ups and downs, and it is possible that at some point you will face new challenges. But now you are different. You are no longer that person who faces difficulties with fear or uncertainty. You are someone who has seen God's hand in action, someone who knows that He can transform any situation, no matter how impossible it may seem. Remember, the faith you cultivated in these 5 days is not just for moments of victory. She is your anchor on stormy days. When the winds blow strong and the waters are turbulent, it is this faith that keeps you firm. And when you feel like your strength is running out, go back to the beginning of this journey. Remember what God did for you. Remember the times when you thought there was no way out, and yet He opened a door. Live with purpose. One of the greatest miracles that God can perform in someone's life is to give purpose. Living with purpose is much more than just existing or surviving. It's waking up every day knowing that your life has greater meaning, that your actions matter, and that you are contributing to something eternal. Ask yourself, what does God want me to do with this transformation? Is He calling me to help someone, to support a cause, to develop a talent that I had left aside? The answer may come in a moment of prayer, in an unexpected conversation, or even in a persistent feeling that you can't ignore. Whatever the calling, follow it with courage, because when you walk in the purpose that God has for your life, miracles become a constant. A life of miracles. Miracles are not isolated events. They don't just happen in times of extreme need or desperation. In fact, When you open your eyes to see life with gratitude and faith, you realize that miracles are everywhere. Waking up healthy, having a roof over your head, having someone who cares about you, all of this is a miracle. The small coincidences that lead us to the answers we seek, the unexpected opportunities, the strength to continue when everything seems lost, all of these are miracles. And when you start living with this awareness, something changes deeply within you. You begin to hope for the best, even in the most challenging circumstances. And this expectation of good things attracts more blessings into your life. God's promise never fails. If there is anything you can take away from this journey, it is the certainty that God never fails. He is faithful to His promises, and when He says He will take care of you, you can believe that He is already doing it, even if you can't see it at the time. So don't give up. No matter how difficult the road is, keep walking. No matter how distant the dream seems, keep believing. God is by your side, guiding your steps, and at the right time, you will see that everything was falling into place perfectly. You have been called to an extraordinary life, a life full of purpose, hope, and miracles. And from now on, your mission is to live that life fully, inspiring others to do the same. And you know what's most incredible? This is just the beginning. Raising hands dizzy. The journey to an extraordinary life is not just about the big moments of transformation, but also about the little details that little by little become big miracles. Every day you live with faith. Every decision you make based on trust in God is a step towards something greater. It's like planting a tree. You don't see the fruits on the same day, but with patience, dedication, and faith, it grows, flourishes, and transforms the environment around it. The power of small decisions. Have you ever noticed how small gestures can change everything? A smile you give to someone who seems lost can brighten that person's day. A silent prayer for a struggling friend may be the answer they didn't even know they needed. A step of faith in a direction that seemed uncertain can open doors you never knew existed. Miracles often begin like this, small acts of obedience and trust. When you decide not to give in to doubt, but to persist, when you choose to love even when it's difficult, when you choose to trust even when the circumstances don't make sense. These small daily decisions made with faith are what build a life of miracles, turning obstacles into bridges. The challenges you face are not barriers to stop your progress, but bridges that God uses to get you where you need to be. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He was sold into slavery, unjustly accused and imprisoned. To human eyes, it seemed like his life was destined for failure. But God was working behind the scenes, turning each obstacle into a stepping stone to something greater. What looked like a prison was actually the path to the palace. And the same could happen to you. What today seems like an impasse could be the ground where God is planting something new. The secret is to trust the process, even when we don't understand the paths. When obstacles arise, ask yourself, how can God use this for my good? Because, believe me, He can. He turns tears into joy, pain into strength, and losses into victories. Cultivating daily gratitude. Gratitude is like a lens that adjusts our vision to see the miracles around us. Often we are so focused on what we still want or need that we forget to be grateful for what we already have. Take a moment today to reflect on the blessings in your life. Think about the people who love you, the opportunities that arose, the difficulties you overcame. Each of these things is a miracle in itself. And when you start living with a grateful heart, something powerful happens. You attract even more reasons to be grateful, because gratitude opens doors to new miracles. The faith that moves mountains. Jesus said, "If you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." That promise is still valid today. The question is not the size of your faith, but the willingness to plant it and act on it. Maybe you feel like your faith is still small, but remember, it is enough. Every time you trust God with something small, your faith grows a little more. And over time, you will find yourself trusting in greater things, facing greater challenges, and witnessing greater miracles. Don't underestimate the power of simple, genuine faith. She is the one who moves mountains. The miracle of impacting other lives. Perhaps the greatest miracle of all is seeing how your story can be used to transform other lives. When you share your struggles, your victories, and the way God has worked in your life, you give hope to those in the midst of the storm. Your testimony is a light to those who are still in darkness. It's a reminder that if God did it for you, He can do it for anyone. So speak up, write, act. Be the living example that miracles are real and accessible to all who open their hearts to receive them. The journey continues. Do you realize now that there is no end to a life guided by God? Each step is just the beginning of something new. The 5 days that began as a promise of miracles turned into an ongoing journey of faith and growth. What comes next is up to you. Keep seeking God. Keep believing. Continue to be a source of light and hope for the world. And remember, miracles didn't stop in the past. They're not just reserved for biblical stories or isolated moments. They are alive, active, and ready to manifest themselves in your life every day. God has bigger plans than you can imagine. He has dreams for you that go beyond what your eyes can see. Trust, wait, persevere, because the best is yet to come. Believe me, you are living in glory days, and that's just the beginning. Raising hands dizzy. Now that you've come this far, I want you to take this message with you. Miracles are not rare events. They are God's signature in your life, in moments big and small. Every step you took on this journey was a step towards something bigger, something deeper, something that will transform not only you, but everyone around you. You are not reading this by chance. You are not alone on this journey. Everything has a purpose. The fact that you are here with an open heart is proof that God has already begun to act. What comes now is up to you. Keeping this faith alive, sharing this transformation, and continuing to spread light wherever you go. And I want to make you a special invitation. If this message touched your heart, if you felt something awaken inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Click the like button because it helps this message reach even more people. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving words of inspiration, faith, and transformation. We are here to walk this journey together. And don't forget, activate the notification bell because miracles continue to happen every day and you won't want to miss any moment of inspiration. Share with someone who needs this message today. Your action could be the miracle someone else is waiting for. Let's spread this chain of faith and hope, because together we are stronger, and together we will witness even more miracles. May God bless you and your family. The best is yet to come. Raising hands dizzy.